great power competition in Africa, and with it, a resurgence of authoritarianism. Anas El-Ghamati joins me now. He's the director of the SADC Institute, a public policy organization based in Libya. Anas, thank you so much for being with us. Before we start talking about Wagner's influence in Africa and what that means for the US's role, I just want to focus on Sudan more specifically for the time being. Just explain to us what exactly the Wagner Group's economic and military interests are in Sudan right now specifically.
Well, it's a great question because I think economically the Wagner Group as an extension of the Kremlin has very, very key kind of interests in Sudan's gold industry. Now, last year they shipped somewhere in the region of just under $2 billion worth of gold out of Sudan using a variety of shell companies, depositing them in the United Arab Emirates. So essentially bringing them to market and being able to do so without any kind of bureaucratic red tape, evading any kind of sanctions, and doing so at the behest of a military dictatorship that had just taken control of the country. So it kind of gave not only Russia a foothold strategically in the Horn of Africa, not only did it give it access to these really lucrative resources, but they brought them to market and created an interdependency on Sudan and that financial lifeline where they hold the keys and the assets now of a burgeoning dictatorship.
And when you think about the various sort of powers, especially in the West, but more broadly, when you think about the various powers vying for influence in Africa, you think about China, obviously Russia, obviously the United States. The fact that Wagner's influence is rising right now, what does that mean for the United States?
Well, it's a game changer because they're operating outside of international norms. They break the association that big superpowers like Russia are doing this in the name of the state, because the founder of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, often says Wagner is a myth; it doesn't exist. And so in many ways, it offers plausible deniability, and it's a very difficult asymmetric opponent to battle. I mean, they operate in around 13 different countries in Africa. They have a stronghold and a foothold at least in 8 different countries, but they bring to bear so many different forms of warfare, so many different kind of tactics. And it doesn't just start at the military. This isn't just a 2-bit run-of-the-mill mercenary outfit. They are a turnkey solution for any failing authoritarian regime, any wannabe dictator, because they can bring them and revive them back to life. They've brought them in skilled experts to refine and extract gold. They've been able to bring them in expertise in disinformation, which is really, really suffering, or the continent is really suffering with this as it tries many countries to kind of transition to democracy. They're using troll farms to be able to kind of erode confidence in the ballot box. So it's on the field, it's off the field, it's cyber, it's online, it's offline. It's being able to do things that other states can't do. It doesn't have any red tape to take years to bring military deals to a fruition into those countries within days, if not weeks. They can circumvent sanctions. So really, when the US is trying to combat Russia now, it's combating a much more leaner Russia. It's combating a Russia that has plausible deniability, and critically, it's using a network that is not only about plausible deniability, but it's drawing the US into confrontation with many of its own allies. As these leaks have revealed, there are countries that the US has kind of relied upon over the last several decades in the region, including Egypt, a neighbor of Sudan, Libya, where Khalifa Haftar, someone that has been courted by the US, who was a dual US Libyan citizen that was visited by the Assistant Secretary of State, Bob Relief, in the last several weeks, by the chief of the CIA, William Burns, in the last several months. He is a critical node now in Russia's network. The United Arab Emirates, without which they wouldn't be able to provide the logistical network, the financial institutions. So when you're using these networks, you're also drawing the US into confrontation with some of its own friends. So now the US is going to have to kind of fight a different kind of warfare, but it also might have to start fighting some of its own friends and allies. And that's really where the crux of this matter lies. It's not the old Russia of just the Cold War. We've seen that film before, but this is a new kind of Russia operating in a way that we've never really seen it operate before.
All right. Anas, thank you so much for being with us. We had to keep it short today, but we appreciate you being on the program. Thank you. All right, still to come, we'll get more on the life and